What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another boxinacorner.net video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Eiyuu Senki War Wonder X, a game I covered previously on a different platform and a different language, but that all doesn't matter anymore because the game is now available in English, and that's why you're probably here today. As always with all of my content, there are timestamps listed in the video description below. Feel free to use them, jump around to a topic that interests you. And I have also written an extensive newbie guide to go along with today's video. And let's go and pop that up on the screen. I also want to point you to the first bullet point on this guide, and that is the English Community Discord. So feel free to join that Discord, and a shout outs to the admins and the managers of that. If you need help in getting a role in that Discord, just go and ask me, because some folks out there have never used Discord in their entire life. So they may be a little bit confused when they click the link, download the program, join Discord, but then do not see anything related to Eiyuu Senki, because that Discord is actually on a Fanza Discord, okay? Things can get complicated in the world. We live in a very cosmopolitan place. Don't ask about it. Just do it, okay? The English Discord is there. That's all I have to say about it. As far as the written guide is concerned, I'm also going to be free riffing a little bit in today's video because I want to do it a little bit more intuitively. I don't want to read off of a script, even though that is my own writing. I did make the guide after all. I invite you to have the guide open on the side while you're watching this video, or even better yet, print it out. But this is a living document, meaning that long after I record today's video, there's probably going to be a little additions or changes to the guide that you will not see me talk about, obviously, in the video, because I can't change this at will, but I can change the guide at will. Okay, so keep tabs on it. It's not a one and done thing, and I'll make minor adjustments to it as needed, as long as I'm still playing the game. All right, cool, got it, great. Let's go and close the guide temporarily. We will be back for it. Let's go and say goodbye to our waving cat. It's a lucky cat, by the way. I believe it's a Mani Neko, happy cat, lucky cat. In any case, it doesn't matter. There's our lovely Hunifer. That is my gal, and she is my main mascot for my account and game. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce the various things that we see on screen here by clicking on the MISC button. And this is the first thing that you're going to be doing as a new player. And why is that? Because it's going to save me 2 hours explaining all the little details of the game. Click on the MISC button, click on this help button, and voila, we have the game's manual illustrated by the developers for you. Okay, so you may be wondering, why the heck am I listening to this moron on YouTube talk right now? Why do I have to download his dodgy Google Doc and read that when there's an in-game manual? The whole purpose of the in-game manual is to introduce you to the various aspects of the game, as well as show you where everything is and get you acquainted with the interface, etc., stuff like that. It's also here to explain all the intricacies of the game engine, things that no player is going to do or take their time to do so. In other words, this is a manual to get you purely situated with what everything means and what everything stands for in Eiyuu Senki. Okay, so I highly suggest you take the time to read this. It's very well done. I wish a lot of other games had a built-in illustrated manual with full descriptions, because it saves a lot of us who make content for various games out there to explain this to players, okay? And whenever you get stuck, just refer back to the in-game manual if you're confused about a mechanic, okay? So if you did something and it didn't turn out the way that you thought it was, or you're stuck somehow that isn't related to progress, open up this manual and hopefully it should answer your questions. In the written guide, I mentioned reading the glossary, which is very useful, and I'll recommend it here as well. There is a glossary in this manual. It has a lot of terminology that you should learn, because if you join the English Discord and you ask other players A, B, and C, they might respond to you in lingo, okay? And then you may not understand what the heck they're talking about. But if you read the glossary, then you're going to know what they're talking about. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Got it? Great. Okay, so like I said, that saves me like 5 hours of covering over the UI and what you need to do and what this means and what that means, etc. Stuff like that. Please read the manual, RTFM. It will help you out greatly. Okay. Now, moving on to the purpose of today's video and who I am and my experience with this game. Now, I covered this game previously. It was on the Fanza platform. That is the Japanese version of the game. And I got up to, I believe, account level 51. I played it rather casually. And I finished the main story campaign as well as the true campaign, which is the harder mode of the normal campaign, if that makes any sense. And I had a great time with the game. It was so much fun. I had a blast with it. It was very easygoing. I like the characters. It's very endearing. The atmosphere of the game is just very welcoming to someone that doesn't even speak the language, just to show you how comfortable the game is. That I decided to make a video on it, okay? And I wanted to introduce it to a larger global audience. So now that the game is out in English, that's why you're probably here today, and that's why you're trying to get a leg up on the competition, or at least trying to optimize your account. So the purpose of my newbie guide is to make sure that you avoid frustration, but I'm not here to tell you how to play the game, okay? I'm not here to tell you to click on Hunifer whenever it's possible, so that way she has cute little quotes, or any other mascot of your choice that you happen to have on the home screen. I'm not here to tell you all that. I'm here to alleviate fears and anxieties that you have when starting a new account, because I know a lot of players, especially younger players, okay, have this thing called FOMO, I guess, fear of missing out. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old fart. I really am old, okay? I can't get over that. And sometimes when they start a new account, they're really, really skittish about doing A or doing B or going to C or whatever, because if they're doing it wrong, they feel like they need to restart, because once they mess up, it's all over. I can promise you it's really hard to mess up in this game, but there are a couple of things that will frustrate you, okay? So that's really the entirety of this video. This is what I'm here aiming to do. I want to get you used to the daily flow, and then I want to get you on the road that will make your account likable. So that way you feel like you didn't mess up in any way, shape, or form, okay? Got it? Cool? All right. So let's move on to the big question, and I'm going to have to bring back on my written guide right here. Who to roll for, and what is meta? Okay, so let me go and access the document. So on my written document, if you're using this on PC, which I recommend you do, you can actually use this left tab, bookmark, whatever they call it nowadays, to go and jump over to different topics. So for example, since we're talking about meta, if I click on the who to roll for in meta, boom, jumps down to that. Okay, so use it. It's really useful. They didn't used to have this in Google Docs. So on the written guide, I made a lot of philosophical observations on who to roll for in this game, etc., stuff like that. I didn't try to be very specific. I'll go and highlight what I wrote right there in bold letters. Waifu. In all the mobile games that I play, and including this one, and including all future ones that I will cover, I always recommend that you roll for waifu first, or husbando, depending on the game in question, and meta second. And the reason being is because it's a psychological thing, where if you're a new player and you have a unit that you like looking at or thematically agree with, whatever the case may be, you're more encouraged to play the game. You're more encouraged to be adventurous because you now have something that you personally hold dear. The problem with meta units and meta gaming when you're a new player is that you are taking the advice of someone else, some moron like myself, who says you should do this and get that. The problem with that line of thinking is that you are making an assumption that that person knows what they're talking about, like me today, okay? I can be completely lying to you right now, and everything I say is false. You do not know that because you're a new player. I use a lot of words. I made a YouTube video. I wrote a freaking Google Doc. You're going to be like, yeah, I should trust this guy. He even has a website that no one visits, boxinacorner.net, right? So all of these things sound very encouraging. They sound very believable. But that's the problem. How would you know? You're a brand new player, okay? So that's why I always recommend you roll for something or someone that you like looking at or thematically agree with, okay? If you're playing for a mech game, that's why I said something, right? You're going to have mechs. You're going to roll for ships. Get a ship that you like looking at, okay? Cool. And that way, you are going to have an investment in your account, and then you're going to go out and try to optimize it, okay? So once you have your waifu, husbando, object in question, mecha in question, okay, robot, then you might want to go back to this list that I made, okay? So this is a tentative recommendation list that I made, and it's always available in this guide. I might update it in the future depending on feedback that I get from like community members, etc., stuff like that, or I'll just tell them, hey, add your own, and then I'll add it. But it's a tentative list, and this is actually based off of the Japanese wiki. Okay, the Japanese wiki actually has a section in there that recommends units for a new player. I literally verbatim transpose that over onto this guide. Okay, so credit goes where credit is due. This is not me being some kind of master gamer and then I knew all the units off the top of my head that I would recommend to you. Okay, but in any case, look at this list. I'm not going to go over this list in detail because it's in the written guide. Okay, you can obviously access it at any time. I added pictures for reference, so that way, obviously, if someone says, like on the English Discord, yeah, you should start off with Pao Ding and Hunifer. They're really good 2-star units. They're going to be like, what the heck? Who the heck is Hunifer and Pao Ding, right? You're a new character. I listed the characters in order from left to right. Okay, so for example, Achilles, the most broken, overpowered unit in this entire game, and the developers are regretting every day that they made her. She's the first unit on the list. You see? And that's why it says Achilles, 4-star, and I linked you over to the Japanese wiki where you can read more information about her. The unit right next to her, Gilgamesh. You see how this works? Hunifer, for example, who is my mascot, she's 5th over, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you look on the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hunifer, 2-star, healer. I added the role that she's meant to be used for, and then the link over to the Japanese wiki. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Whenever you want to go and refer to this guide, like I said, use the written guide. It's always going to be there, and hopefully I'll keep it tentatively updated. We'll see. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack or suggestions, whatever it is, from the community after I release this. Okay, if you have a suggestion for this list, let me know. I will happily add it. Just do me a favor and give me the character's name and give me a link over to the Japanese wiki so I know what you're talking about, and then I'll go ahead and amend this list, okay? And that will go ahead and help everyone, all right? You don't necessarily need to give me like a long reason. Just let me know, all right? All right. So once again, as a new player, treat this list as a things that you should look out for, but not a tier list. Please do not take it as a tier list, okay? It's just a list of units that you really should be looking out for in case you're wondering about the overall value of your account, okay? If you're someone that's in reroll hell, and I do talk about that in the written guide, if you're someone that's really hardcore and you're trying to roll for the best units, you might want to look at this list and you might want to go, okay, you know, I got her, etc., stuff like that, and you'd be like, I think this is a pretty decent account, I'll go with it, okay? But that's all it's made for. If you get none of the units on this list, you can still play the game, okay? Trust me, it's that forgiving, and eventually you'll probably run across these units. But you do you. You play the game how you want to play, okay? Cool? All right. We're going to move on to the next topic, which is resource optimization. I'm going to go and get this off the screen because I like doing it better in the actual game, okay? All right. So as I mentioned in the written guide, I had like 4 pages worth of recommendations in terms of resources, and then I realized like I was wasting everyone's time, my own and eventually yours. And simply put, all you have to do is realize this key factor, which is this right here. So these 2 things in front of us right here, actually 3 things, but these 2 things more importantly. This is called a mission draft. Looks like a little wooden tassel. Okay, I know there's an official name for it. I apologize. I'm being culturally insensitive, but you know, it looks like a wooden tassel. Okay, I don't know the name, but in the game it's called a mission draft. Next to it is another tassel, which apparently looks like it's made of steel or metal. In the game, it's referred to as a mission skip. These 2 things in front of us are really what help you generate other resources alongside this right here, which is an AP bottle. Now, this will make sense to you because AP, or action points, is what you use as stamina, the stamina equivalent in other games. If you're out of action points, you can't do anything. You have to wait until it regenerates. The more of these potions you have, the more ability you have to refill your action points and then go do other things. But these 2 things right here, mission drafts and mission skips, they're very convenient and useful in that they allow you to access stuff that you are probably going to want, okay? Especially the mission drafts, okay? Now, mission skips are purely for, in some ways, convenience, but in other ways, they're not. Okay, and I'm going to go and explain that right now. All right, so let's go back here and go back onto the home screen. So once again, I know if you're a new player and you're just watching this video for the first time, all of this stuff might be flying over your head real quickly. I recommend, like I said, coming back and watching the video whenever possible, but also reading the manual. Don't worry about it, okay? Things will make sense. Now, on this screen right here, under the special category, we have various missions that you can go and partake that will give you various different resources in the game that you need and want and desire. Okay? Now, I'm doing this video today specifically on the weekend because this is unlocked on the weekends. Okay? Basically, a complete list of things that I can go ahead and farm for. And it's usually more varied on weekend days than it is on weekdays. Okay? It goes on a schedule. But that doesn't matter. What is important to you is that since you're going to be farming stuff like this, you're going to run into an issue in that you can't access certain things, okay? Now, this first little tab that I used, right, that uses a different resource than another tab that I'm going to show you right now. For example, if I wanted to get money, and money is something that you're going to be in short supply with, you'll notice that I need to spend one mission draft, okay, in order to access this map so I can farm for money, okay, or at least complete it for money. If you do not have mission drafts, you cannot access this, okay? Why this is important and why you should save and hold on to these is because eventually there's going to be an event. And in events, they have event currency as well as other random things that you need to do. And they are also going to require mission drafts, at least some of them. So if you're burning all of your mission drafts right now as a new player on basically newbie content, you are not efficiently using your mission drafts whatsoever. You're wasting them, okay? For example, this is a level 1 mission draft for basic money. You're going to be able to get money from different sources. So using this is a complete waste. So why would you waste a valuable mission draft on it? I hope this makes sense, okay? So I'm not going to belabor the point. I think you get what I'm trying to put down now. You're now on the floor, all right? Don't waste your mission drafts. But moving on from that, let's go back to this tab right here. Now, this tab uses action points, all right? And action points are a freely regenerating resource. You see where my obnoxiously bright neon pink mouse cursor is pointing at? Action points regenerate, okay? And these resources you can farm using action points, which you should be doing at all times. We'll talk about this a little bit later. However, what does this relate to in terms of that other resource that I was talking about? Skips. So mission skips, those silver tabs, this allows you to do a particular map instantaneously. Okay, so even though I'm still using action points because that's the core requirement, if I use a mission skip, I don't have to play through the mission. It does it automatically, and then I get the reward for it, okay? Why this is useful and why you want to save these is, once again, during event maps, there's going to be special event currency as well as other event things. And sometimes you're going to barely be able to beat a map, especially as a new player. And when you barely beat a map, you don't want to go through that experience again because it was a struggle, you see? You want to be barely able to beat the map, get a C ranking, just enough to pass it, and then use mission skips for every attempt thereafter. That way you get the full rewards for that map, and then you don't have to go through the struggle. Okay, so you're optimizing your time, and you're also optimizing your return. Okay, so that is why you want to go and save these skips as much as possible. Do not use them willy-nilly as a new player. Please do not. Save them and just play the missions out regularly. It's also a good thing to play out a mission regularly because it will be a learning experience for you as a new player. It will allow you to get familiar with the game's mechanics. It will allow you to make mistakes early on when mistakes don't really matter, and a lot of other good stuff that you should be doing anyway as a newbie, okay? So once again, in terms of resource management, save your mission skips, save your mission drafts, and to some degree, save your AP potions if you can, because all of these things are more valuable during an event. Okay, as a new player, you already have a lot of things to do. So why start grinding when you don't necessarily have to? Get familiar with the game, play whatever is available to you, and then try to get as far as you can in the main story. That is your focus. But in terms of resources, save them. Okay? In context of mission skips and mission drafts. If this all sounds too confusing, rewind the video and then watch it again. Play a little bit more of the game, and it will make sense to you. Okay? All right. So that is resource optimization in terms of mission drafts, mission skips, and action points or AP, okay? Save them as much as possible. Potions, mission drafts, mission skips. AP you should be burning at all times, and do so on maps that only require AP to use, like this one in front of us right here. You see? AP to spend 50 points. That's all that's going to cost me. No mission drafts, no mission skips. You got it. I'm going to go and do this as many times as I want to get as many things that I need, okay? And then wait for my AP to refill. All right? Okay. So I'm just going to go back to the home page just for the sake of giving myself some time to breathe and making a split in the video. The next topic I covered, I believe, was where and what to grind for. At least I think that's what I called it in the written guide. So let's go and pop back up the written guide and jump down to it. Remember that little thing on the left? Click on it. Boom. Where and what to grind for. Okay. So I mentioned in the written guide that it's going to be very easy for you as a new player to fall into a comfortable routine. And that comfortable routine is what you're used to experiencing in other games. You're probably going to be tempted to grind normally, meaning play story maps or side missions as much as possible to get your characters to level up. And then you're going to be tempted to look for anything that drops materials for equipment because, hey, we all want gear, right? That's the traditional line of thinking in a game. Level up your character, get more stuff for gear or get better gear, rinse and repeat, and everything else will come after. In Eiyuu Senki War Wonder, it's a little bit different in that your character has different parameters that they need to level up, and this comes through the form of tomes and scrolls, okay? And they're actually listed right here. I made a little picture for you guys, all right? So let's go and hide the guide again, and let's go and go back to the game. Let's go and bring up our characters here. And my lovely Hunifer, my girl. And then we're going to go under the training tab, not the skills tab. And let me walk you through this. So once again, if you read the manual, RTFM, this will make sense to you. If you did not, when you have the chance, go do so. Everything here, all of these parameters of my unit requires these tomes and scrolls to level up, okay? So these are attributes. They require tomes. In terms of skills, these require scrolls. See, these look familiar to you. They were on the written guide just a moment ago, all right? So because every little individual thing requires these things to level up, as a new player, you should be focusing on getting as much of these things as much as possible and stockpiling them while they are available for you to access, because these particular tomes and scrolls are not available every day. So, for example, if you're on Tuesday, they might have one particular tome and scroll available. Wednesday, they'll change it up. And this can be frustrating as a new player because you have different characters that you want to use, and they all have different statistics, or attributes, I should say, that need raising, but they vary in degree. Now, my particular team is a magic-focused team. Okay, so if I go right here, you notice that all of their stats are actually relatively the same. This is done on purpose because I'm a veteran, so I know what I'm doing. And I made my team thematically the same. As a new player, however, you are more likely going to run into units that have completely random stats. For example, this girl in front of us right here has a different priority. She doesn't care about magic attack, okay? She cares about regular attack, okay? However, previously, as you can see in like my Benjamin character right here, she's a magic attacker and she doesn't really care that much about power attack. What this means in context for you as a new player is that you are going to need a lot of scrolls for different units, okay? And this can become a little bit overwhelming and frustrating. That's the key word I used at the beginning of this video. Frustrating, in that you might be out there grinding for just levels and equipment, and then when you actually go into your character's screen, like we see in front of us right now, you're going to be wondering, well, man, how do I get all these tomes that I need? And even when you do have a couple of tomes, you can be like, oh, I really need a lot of these defense tomes, but oh, where are the attack tomes? I mean, man, I only have like 10 of them, but I have like 700 of these magic attack tomes. They're not any use to me. That's where the frustration lies, okay? So it is very important as a new player that you focus on grinding tomes and scrolls, at least in my opinion. Do not worry about the levels. They will come naturally. Do not worry about money. It will come naturally. And equipment, to some degree, will come naturally as well. Not necessarily you. Will have to grind for it. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But more importantly, in my eyes, tomes and scrolls, these things are in front of us right here, are very important to grind for whenever they become available. Okay? You can never do wrong if you're grinding for these and stockpiling them. Absolutely not. You never can do wrong if you get these first. They will help you out much more considerably than just basic leveling and money. Okay? Now, talking about equipment, you will need to grind for equipment materials in this game, and you can do so depending on the day. Okay, and you see these things right here. Once again, RTFM. Read the fudging manual to understand what materials you need for equipment. I'm going to go back on the home screen because like I said, I know you're a newbie, so this is all very daunting and frustrating to quickly pick up. But if we go over to equipment, as you can see right here, you need certain items to go ahead and upgrade your equipment, or at least create it if you're at level 1, okay? All of these materials you can grind for, but you need to make a list. And that is because it's not universal. Every single character in this game has a different requirement for equipment, okay? So not only does Hunifer, for example, have a different requirement, but Yan, I believe it's Yan, right? It's right. No, Jan. I keep calling her Yan because the J is silent, I think. Whatever. She's going to have different requirements for her equipment, okay? So what I'm trying to say is that she is going to require different materials. You see how the materials for Jan were very different from Hunifer? This can be daunting for a new character, or a new player, I should say, okay? More importantly, equipment helps you out a lot, but it doesn't help you out as much as leveling out and maxing out your attributes. You should always max these out first and then worry about equipment, okay? I hope that makes sense to you. I really do, all right? So it sounds like I'm repeating this point right now, and I'm kind of beating a dead horse. It's just because I know a lot of players that start out, they kind of ask for recommendations for teams, and then they put the team together, and then they play, and they're like, well, you know what? I'm at level 35 or something like that, but my team's getting annihilated. What's going on? Like, can you help me out? And then, you know, we go through the details about their account, and then we realize, dude, your characters, like, all their attributes are, like, really low, or you haven't even touched them, okay? This is one of those things that new players do in this game overlook. It's the attribute system, and you really need a lot of tomes and scrolls for it. Scrolls being even harder to get, and that is for your skills, okay? Upgrading your skills helps a ton. Certain characters really benefit from having maxed out skills early on, and that is because skills act off of a multiplier, not kind of like a base amount. And these require a ton of scrolls to level up, okay? Much more than tomes, I would say. So, once again, getting the tomes and scrolls early on is something that you should prioritize above all else, okay? So what should you be grinding for? Whatever is available that is going to give you a tome and a scroll, okay? You can't go wrong. Because even if this isn't for a character that you necessarily want to use right now, it will be useful for another character that you're probably going to want to use down the road, okay? Got it? Great. All right, let's go and move on to the next subject, and that, I believe, is affection. I am not going to open up the written guide because I think I remember for the most part what I wrote in there, and that is on the topic of affection. Let's go ahead and open up the affection window. Okay, so my lovely gal, my girl, my number one, Hunifer here, she's at affection level 23. What the heck does that even mean? What does this mean in the context of the game? Well, let me go ahead and show you. On the bottom left, you will notice something that looks like a hand with a heart in it. If you click on it, it's going to go and bring up this little window for you. Now, this window is going to let you know what rewards are available at what affection level. Okay? So the more you level up the affection, the more things that you are going to get on this list. Okay? Pretty self-explanatory stuff. Now, in the written guide that I mentioned, there are breakpoints in affection. Okay? And those are going to be at 5, 10, 13, and then every 10 levels after that. So 23, 33, 43, all the way up into max level, which is going to be at 50. Why are these levels important? Let's go and show you a character that I have not raised any affection on. Who is this lovely lady? Grace. Okay. Grace is at affection level 1. Okay. If I go to her skills, you notice that one of her skills is blacked out. And why is that? Is because I need to unlock this skill. Well, how do I unlock this skill? Let me go and click it. You need affection level 10. Okay, so that explains things, and that's why that skill is locked out. Okay. If I go over to, I believe, her trait line, which is here right in front of us, you'll see that she has a passive trait called Wise Aura. Okay, it gives 15% magic defense to the allies above and below her. Well, how do I unlock this? You require affection level 5 or higher. All right, I'm seeing a running theme here. Okay. I think you get what I'm putting down at this point. All right, you're picking it up. So in other words, all units at breakpoints 5, 10, and 13, 13 being the first stat boost, which is right there, you see? You get a boost at all stats, and then 10 levels thereafter. It's very important that you reach this so that it makes your unit basically fully unlocked. Okay, so their passive will be unlocked, their third additional skill will be unlocked, and then their first stat boost, which is usually the highest, will be unlocked. Okay, and then that way you have what I would call a usable unit. An affection level 1 unit is not a fully usable unit because all of their skills are not unlocked, and that's a bad thing. But moving on from just stat boots, what does higher affection does? Well, higher affection unlocks story time with your unit. Okay, so on the bottom right here, you notice this little book with a heart in it. If I click on it, it's going to jump me over to this window right here, and this is the stories section. Okay, the stories for that individual character. Let me go and click back right here. Now you'll notice that these are all the characters that I currently have on my account. Okay, and all of them have little flashing new banners on them or little notifications. What does that mean? It's letting me know that I can go ahead and do some story time with this particular character. However, you also notice that on this particular character, for example, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her name, so I'm just going to call her Ajata. On Ajata, she's going to require affection level 10 or higher to access this story content. And this story content also happens to have a naughty, naughty bedroom scene in it. Okay? We're not going to talk about the naughty, naughty bedroom scene because I can't. I don't want to get naughty, naughty off of YouTube. All right? Even though I make zero money on this channel, it's not monetized. But still, they can go ahead and do that. What's important to you is that she requires level affection 10 or higher to unlock this naughty time. Okay? So, once more, not only is affection important for stats, it's also important for unlocking stories with particular characters. Now, keep in mind that the higher rank a character, the harder it is to unlock different story elements for them, because obviously they're a higher ranked character. Let's go and find a 4-star. Who is this lovely lady? Kublai Khan. So for Kublai Khan, let's go and click on her affection. And see, you'll notice that she has different requirements of affection, okay? And her naughty naughty scenes go all the way up to 30. So there's one at 20 and there's one at 30, all right? This is not true for all characters, but it's true for most characters, okay? The higher their rank, the harder it will be for you to access their story time and different elements, etc., stuff like that. But what is universal is unlocking the passive skill, the third skill, as well as their first stat boost, and that's going to be at 5, 10, and 13 respectively. Okay? And that is affection. All right. Moving on to the next subject. Let's go and bring back up the guide. And that is going to be quality of life considerations. Okay. So as a new player, you're going to notice that the game is running a little slow. And you might be wondering, how can I speed all of this up? So for those of you who are used to playing a very, very fantastic series of games called Fire Emblem, you may exactly be knowing what I'm talking about, and that is turning off animations. Now, I left this section as quality of life on purpose because I know there are some folks out there that like the flavor animations. They like all of the little nuances of the characters fighting one another, and that's fine. You can leave them on if you want to, but I just want to let you know that turning off animations really, I do mean really, considerably speeds things up. Okay, so much in fact, let's go ahead and do a test right now. So I'm gonna go and hide this again. Let's go and pick a fight with somebody a lot weaker than us because we're big bad bullies. I need some magic defense upgrade tones. Let's go. We're heading off to Moscow. Okay. Let's go ahead and spend the AP. I don't care about supporter right now because I'm going to ruffle stomp these guys. So if I go in my options menu, we are going to leave on skill animations, okay? And now let's go ahead and begin the battle. So when you leave on skill animations, this little screen where your units attack the other units happens for every single action, okay? It looks cool. I love the way it looks. And you'll love the way it looks too at first, okay? For some of you out there, like I said, of Fire Emblem fame, this is going to be very nostalgic, right? It's like, oh, you know, the swordsmen hitting the shield bearers, the shield guys, you know, running up against the archers, whatever it is may be. And like I said, it's cool, all right? When you do this a million times over, it's going to get old real fast, okay? And it is going to take up a considerable amount of time, all right? So once again, this is a very easy battle that I'm pretty much one-shotting everybody, all right? But notice the amount of time that it has taken for us to get to crushing victory, okay? That was a good while. It honestly was, okay? Because let me go and do that battle once more with skill animations turned off. I repeat the mission. Do it again. Don't need a helper for this. Go into our options window. Combat. Off. Skill animations. Look how faster this is going to be. Starting the battle. Pop. And it's dead. Pop. And it's dead. You see how much quicker this is? It's so much quicker. Look at this. Right? So if you're a new player and you're wondering why everyone in the Discord is so high level and you're like, whoa, how'd you guys get to like level XYZ so quick? They literally just put on 3x speed and turned off skill animations. Okay? That's it, guys. The mission is done. Could even finish my thought. All right? See how much faster it is? So please check that out. Okay? It will behoove you a lot if you're a new player to do that. I leveled up. Yay me. More AP to burn. And that is an extreme quality of life option that you might want to turn off or on. Now, the reason why I, like I said, put it in the quality of life in the guide is because I know there are folks out there that like the flavor stuff, okay? So leave it on. You don't have to turn it off, okay? But it will go ahead and make your life easier. I also talk about display text speed in there and all that jazz. I think you know what I'm talking about. But this next section in the guide is very important, which I'll show you on screen right here, and that is auto skill. Okay, so the written guide does a piss poor job of explaining it because I cannot do that with words, but I do it for the people who don't want to watch the video. Okay, they just want the written guide. Let's go ahead and talk about auto battle optimization. So let's go ahead and pick another map that I need to run. Let's go ahead and do this map. Sure, why not? Okay, spend 70. Yes. So when you sortie your units and you're in the getting ready phase, okay, go ahead and click on these 3 bars on the upper right hand side. I believe they're called hamburgers nowadays because that's what kids call them. And go ahead and click on the auto skill button. If you do that, it will bring you up to this window right here. Okay, auto skill. So what am I looking at right now? What are you looking at right now? You will notice that all of the units that you currently have sent out are on this screen and no more. So I have 6 units in my squad, and that are the 6 units that are in front of us right here. Now, the first option is going to be called move, and that is universal for all of the units on screen. You see they all have move option. And then the second and third, those are the respective skills of your unit. Okay? So for Hunifera here, she has 2 healing abilities. Okay? Those are their actual names. But if you hover over them, it will actually show you the ability. And this is very useful when you're planning out what auto skills you want to use. Okay? And this is true for all characters. For Jan, for example, see if I hover over, it'll show you the ability, its range, its damage, its description, etc. All of that jazz. So how does this help you? Well, in auto battle, by default, everything is left to on. Nothing is turned off. Okay? This is how it looks like by default. Every single option is turned on. Now, the move command, what this means is that if you allow this to be on, your character will move around on the battlefield. That is different from advancing the army. Remember what I said earlier, RTFM. if you don't know what advancing the army means. Okay, I'll explain it to you right now because I'm a nice guy. Advancing the army means that you move your entire army one row forward and advance upon the enemy's army. But it does not mean that you are moving on your side of the grid, okay? Units will always automatically advance. You cannot turn that off if they need to, if they deem it necessary to, when you're in auto battle. But in moving, as in moving on your own side of the grid, you can turn that off so that your unit will never ever take a move action on their own unless they are forcefully pushed or pulled. Okay? So generally speaking, I leave most of my units on the off command, especially ranged units, because it doesn't really matter if they get pulled or pushed. They can still, for the most part, interact with the enemy side. Okay? And especially support units who have a large range, like Hunnifer, for example, even if she gets pushed and pulled off of her tile, it doesn't matter because she's still going to be able to heal and help her allies. Okay? Now, tanky units or melee units, for example, units that have a very limited amount of range, basically most red units, you're probably going to want to leave the move command on because you want them to have the ability to intercept enemy units, meaning moving forward or moving back as necessary. And also, if they get pushed or pulled, you want to be able to get them back into position that's favorable because they have such limited range on their abilities. Okay? So I hope that makes sense about the move command. All right? It's not advancing, but it's the move command. Okay? Leave it off, generally speaking, for ranged units, and then leave it on for melee or short ability units. However, you tweak it as necessary. Okay? Do not take this as law. I'm just giving you a generality. You will find what is optimal for your team. All right. Now, on this team that I have set up in front of me, you will notice that I have a lot of healers. Okay. Pao Ding, I forgot her lovely lady's name. She also has a healing ability as well. And Hunnifer has a healing ability. So this all means that I need to make sure that I'm not too overly defensive with it. So, for example, I'll turn off her healing ability because it's kind of overkill. All right, Hunnifer and Pao Ding will provide enough healing for my team. Also, for this support unit right here, I don't want her to use this ability because it sucks. It's a damage ability, but I know she has low damage. So I'm going to go ahead and take off Holy Hole Poke, but I will go ahead and leave her buff, meaning that she will only do 2 moves, her basic action and her buff. Why am I telling you all these things? Because for you, this might all be very boring. When you make your team, you are going to have to take the time to look into the intricacies of your party and see how everything works out, okay? The reason why you want to set this up once and then never think about it again is that you are going to be grinding a lot in this game, okay? And because you're grinding a lot in this game, you want to make sure that your auto battle team is as optimized as possible for 2 reasons. A, they do not die because dying sucks. And B, they complete the map as efficiently and as quickly as possible. If you have too many support units on your team, for example, and you leave all of their abilities on, they're constantly going to be healing one another. And that's kind of a waste of time, okay? And this will start grinding on your gears when you're doing the map for the 700th time, okay? I hope that makes sense. So my team is now set up and auto battle is ready to go. And now I'm going to let them do what they need to do, okay? In the written guide, I invited you to take some time out and run a lot of test maps and test your auto battle team, especially test them against enemies that are harder than your team, so that way you can truly see how the AI is acting out and what it's doing in certain situations. And I wanted to stress that point because once you have it set up, you should be able to do most of the story with an auto battle team, except for the rare 1 or 2 enemy formations that have a lot of debuffers in them or a boss encounter, okay? But outside of those manual situations, you should be able to auto battle yourself through the entire campaign as long as you have a team that makes sense, that has good synergy, and more importantly, you set up their auto battle correctly, okay? So please do that. It is an extreme quality of life once you get it done and set up, and it will help you greatly for the various teams that you will be making in the game. All right, let's move on to the last section, which is final recommendations. And I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what I was talking about. Okay, the first thing I was talking about is dispatch. Okay, so in my final recommendations, the first thing I note is dispatching. Let's go and talk about that right now. Let's go and hide that again. So dispatch is this on the bottom left right here. It will open up. If you don't see it at first, that is because you are completely brand new. It will open up eventually. And once it does open up, let's go ahead and look at what it does. So many games have a similar thing to this. It's essentially sending units out to do something while you're away from the game. It's a way for you to get stuff while you're not actively doing anything in the game. It's essentially idling bonuses. Okay, that's all it is. Now, personally, I like sending out units that I never use or I will foresee myself not using. The reasons being is because you'll see right here, all units that you send out on dispatch always get experience alongside of the resources that you want them to get. Okay? So if I click on few results right now, it's going to say, oh, hey, it's completed successfully. You see all these units in front of me right now? I am not using these units currently. Okay? But they got experience for going out on dispatch. In the future, I might use them. In a different team composition, I might use them. Or if I encounter a boss or map that is very specific and I need these units' help, it would be nice to have them, for the most part, locked and loaded and ready to go at max level. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be at max attributes. That doesn't mean they're going to be at max affection. That doesn't mean they're going to be at max skill. Remember all that stuff mentioned earlier, so we are reviewing here. That's why it's important to have excess amount of tomes and scrolls. Okay, so that way when I do need to call on a unit for whatever reason, I can go ahead and max her out and then get her ready to rock and roll when I need her to. But before all of that, send her out on a dispatch. Okay, I'm not using these girls in active teams, but they're all leveling up very nicely, and that is because I keep sending them out on dispatches. Okay, so that is my advice to you once you unlock dispatching. Okay, never ever send a unit that you currently are using, because they're going to level up anyway, so why bother? Send out units that you're not using. Okay, and then that way they can level up, and then you'll have a pool of units that you'll be able to access later down the road. It gives you more flexibility. All right, cool, got it? Great. Let's go and reopen up the guide. What did I talk about next? I talked about gem usage. Okay, so this is a very controversial section, as well as the next topic is going to be controversial. But on the written guide, I wrote that I hardly use gems to pull for units. Okay, and why is that? Okay, let's go and close this out. So if you click on the little store on the bottom right here, you are going to be able to purchase items. Okay, the second tab that says purchase items, you'll be able to purchase these with gems. Okay, now you notice what's on sale here: mission drafts, which are extremely useful, as well as AP potions, which are also extremely useful. Okay, and they have a set amount of gem expense to item ratio. Okay, I'm not sure why that came out weird, but it came out the way it did. Okay. Every month, they have a little bit of a minor sale on these items. You'll see like 10 potions for 900 gems or 20 drafts for 540 right here. That's a little bit of a discount. Not much, but it's a little bit. And every little bit helps since gems are so hard to come by, at least for free anyway. Okay. I have played this game before. I have the gift, I guess you want to call it, of foresight. I know what's coming down the road. And what's coming down the road are units that are not currently available right now. And a lot of those units are what I would call meta units, in other words, overpowered units. And some of those units are what I call must-have waifu units because of their animation, story, etc., stuff like that. All these things in consideration, on my account right now, I have not spent a single gem. Okay, my account is, at the time of this video's creation, about 4 days old, I think, 3 to 4 days old. I have not spent a single gem, and I will not spend a single gem. Okay, I'm going to hoard every single gem that I own because of these reasons. When the event happens, and it inevitably will, there's going to be a lot of things on this screen right here, this shop, that's going to be on sale at a greatly discounted price because it's an event. You know, hey, it's time to celebrate. It's event time. And that is when I'm going to use my gems to buy these resources. And the reason why I want to buy these resources, mission drafts, AP potions, and whatever else they happen to have on sale, is because this will allow me to farm more. And if I farm more, I have more of a stockpile of, you guessed it, tomes and scrolls. And the more stockpile I have of tomes and scrolls, these stuff right here, the more I have the ability that if there is an event unit that I want, once I pull for her, if I pull for her, I'll be able to use her right away. If I don't have an excess stock of this, that means that I have to wait off using that unit. Now, this doesn't sound like much as a new player. You're like, okay, well, whatever. I'll have patience. I'll wait for the new unit, right? And that is because right now you are overwhelmed with so many things to do that you don't really care who you level up. You're just happy to get a strong team together, right? Because you're like, oh, wow, I have a strong team together. This works. I'm kicking ass. I'm going through the story. That's how you feel right now. Later on, you are going to run up against a wall because a certain map is too hard, or you're going to realize that you need a particular unit to help flesh out your team, or on the very base level, there's going to be a waifu unit that you're going to be like, whoa, I got to have that unit. You know, she looks amazing. And you're going to be very upset and frustrated when you have that unit and she is literally doing nothing because you do not have an excess stockpile of these tomes and scrolls in front of you, okay? And that can be extremely frustrating. And it actually removes your interest from the game because then what you're doing and logging on every day is that you're going to be grinding and hoping for stuff to raise that particular unit, okay? So once again, I have the gift of foresight. I know what's coming. And because I know what's coming, I am not spending a single gem. I am not some type of authority figure. I cannot force you to not spend your gems. I cannot tell you how to have fun in the game. You do you. You do whatever you feel is best. But for me, I personally, as a new player, might consider stockpiling these gems for what is to come. That being said, if you're starting this game in the future, you might have watching this video like 6 months from now, a year from now, who knows how long the game's going to be out and when you're watching this video. You might be in the middle of an event right now. Therefore, I would say use those gems to whatever you think you will like, but keep this consideration of frugality after the event ends. Once the event ends, there's going to be another event down the road, and you're never going to know what's going to happen. So save them, okay? Get by with what you have right now, and then use them during the event. It just makes more sense. It's min-maxing in that regards, okay? But once more, I'm not your uncle. I'm not your granddad. I'm not your disappointed father. Why did I bring that out? That's horrible. Okay, I'm not your proud father telling you how to live your life, okay? You do you. You do however you want to. But for me personally, I do not spend my gems unless instant event, and it's in a banner that I really care about. Okay, so that was this whole section right here on final recommendations, okay? And now I'm going to go and close out this video for the most part. I have one more thing. I need to do my outro and stuff like that. On the topic of censorship. So if you saw this at the beginning of the video and you just wanted to jump straight into the drama, you're like, oh, I wonder what Box in the Corner has to say about it, or at least Tree from Box in the Corner. My name is Tree. You're probably going to be a little bit disappointed because I made the most public relation comment that I possibly could muster together on this document, because when you write stuff, it's on the internet forever. So I'm going to be a little bit more spicy in the video, but on the document, it's really PR, okay? I summoned all my years of business, public relation, and marketing training to write that statement, okay? So we don't care about that because it's always going to be there, all right? Let's go and hide it. This game is censored, okay? This is the English version of Eiyuu Senki War Wonder X, and even though there's an X in the title, and there's a lot of naughty stuff in this game, it still is censored. All of the original assets from the original version are not available in this game. They have been modified to some degree for certain characters. Who those are and what is being modified is not important. What is important is that, yes, this game is censored, and thus it is not the original version. I always say this to anyone that is upset with censorship or sensitive to the topic of censorship. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is the original version out there? Because if it is, you might want to consider playing the original version regardless of any impediments and barriers in your way. I have been doing this for a very long time. I have been playing mobile games and other games for more than half of my life, near 20 years now, okay? So you can already do the math, okay? That's how old I am. Not 20, I said half of my life, 20 years. Okay, I'm an old fart, okay? I've been doing this for a very long time, and back in the days where we didn't have the beautiful internet, okay, and modems were things that you heard a dial tone for, I played a lot of games that were not in my native language. My native language is English, okay? I imported copies through hell or high water, and when I got them in my hand and I put them in, my floppy disk, my Amiga, whatever, they were in a different language. I didn't understand them, okay? It could be Chinese. It could be Japanese. It could be Russian, Polish, French, German. Whatever the language was, I didn't care because I had the original game and I wanted to play the original game. So I invite you, if someone who is really upset about censorship, maybe, just maybe, you want to go and try to play the original game and not worry so much about language. Because remember, this is a revisit video. I've played this game already on the Japanese version, Fanza, okay, which is the original content. Another thing was cut out. And I enjoyed it. I got up to account level 51. I made a video on it. The video is no longer available because I don't want to confuse people because I said that was an English guide. And now I have this English guide that I'm doing today, but that's not the point. The point being was that that was not an impediment for me to enjoy the game and its content as it was originally created. Okay? So because Eiyuu Senki War Wonder X has an original version, I would welcome you to play this game right now, the English version, merely as a tutorial and as an instruction set. Okay? Get used to the menus, get used to the abilities, get used to the daily flow, the daily grind, and then once you're used to that, go on, head on over to Fanza, I've linked it, the original version, and then play that version. And you get to experience the original content as it is. Okay? Now, fair warning, the original version has a lot of stuff that's ahead of this version, obviously. There are different versions in terms of content. But 90% of the stuff is still generally the same. Okay? That is all I really have to say on the topic of censorship. See? Not as spicy as probably what you were thinking it is. I was going to go on a podium and talk about this and talk about that. Do I feel like it sucks? Yes, I do. I absolutely hate censorship in games. Why does it exist? I don't get it. Let the marketplace decide what should be acceptable and what should not. Okay? In other words, hey, this sucks. I don't like it. I'm not going to buy it. Oh, it has that in it? Okay, not going to pay for it. That's it. Simple as that. But if there's an original version, bring over the original version. Okay? That's my 2 cents on it. It's very simple. Very straightforward. But at the same time, like I said, I don't get upset over it. I have so many things to do in my life that are positive, and I hope you do as well. I have so many games to test and play right now that are great and fantastic, that are, once again, not in my own language. I don't care because I'm having fun. I'm too busy having fun. And I'm having fun with things that are in their original version. So, once again, the key question is the original version out there for you to enjoy? Because if the answer is yes, there's really zero reason for you to sit there and be mad about censorship when you can go out and play the original version, at least in my opinion. Okay? Take that adventurous step. Open up that large world, and you're going to be overwhelmed and swamped with things to play. Do not worry so much about this being cut or that being blurred out or that not being available, as long as the original exists. If the original doesn't exist, I'm going to be standing there with you with pitchforks and torches at the developer studio or the publisher studio saying, why did you cut it out before the game was even released? How do you even know it was offensive to anyone? I agree on that point. But if it does exist and it just happens to be region specific, don't let a simple thing like language be an impediment to your enjoyment. Okay? That is the topic of censorship. Okay? And unfortunately, yes, the English version is a bit censored. Not much, but censorship is censorship. And I'm going to go and walk away from that topic. Okay? Whew. All right. So let's go and close out this video. As always, going back to the written guide, I'm going to pop that up one more time. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way to the top. Okay? This is a living document. I've left my contact information above. So that's my website. That's my YouTube channel. That's my email for any business contact. So if you're a developer and you thought this video wasn't that sucky and you want to contact me, you're welcome to contact me. I will make modifications to this document as necessary if anything comes up. But for the most part, I think it's pretty solid. I think if any modifications are going to be made to this document, a lot of folks are probably going to suggest the who to roll for in meta, because I know this is very contentious. Like I said, I copied this off of the JP Wiki. I'm using the JP Wiki's recommendation for the most part, but that's probably most modifications of it. If there's anything else I need to add, once more, just check the written guide, okay? Keep it bookmarked if necessary, but I don't necessarily feel like I haven't covered anything on a newbie-friendly level, okay? There's always going to be discussion about meta stuff in mid-game and late-game. I frankly don't care about that because this whole guide was meant for a new player, okay? Veterans can argue all day long, and min-maxers can argue all day long. I don't care about them. I was never a min-maxer myself, so why should I personally involve myself with that conversation, okay? But more importantly, the English Discord has everything else, hopefully, that you should want as a player, okay? So regardless of this document, if I don't update this, and regardless if I never make another video on Eiyuu Senki War Wonder again, please join the English Discord, and that way you will have access to a wealth of information from other players, veteran players, okay? Also, I'll try to keep the external resources updated. As you'll see right here, there's another beginner guide that was written, okay? That was based on the JP version, but it is another beginner's guide. And there are going to be things in there that are not in this guide, okay? I mentioned this in the introduction of my written guide. Please do not allow me to be your only source of information. Please go out there and get other sources of information. And this other guide is one of them. So feel free to click on that and read through it as well. You'll probably glean some other information that I didn't talk about, okay? And that is pretty much the conclusion of this video. All right, so let's go and hide this one more time. Go back to our lovely Hunifer. And close things out. My website is boxinacorner.net. I try to update it every month. I try to bring you interesting stuff. It's not just video game related. I have various interests, and I try not to be a one-trick pony. I try to be a site of just general interest stuff, so feel free to check it out, as always. And on my YouTube channel, feel free to visit the community tab, okay? If you're just subscribed to my channel, that's fantastic. That's great. But you're only going to get notifications when I post videos, all right, for the most part. Head on over to the community tab and then check that out. That's where I post mini updates, random thoughts I might be having, etc., stuff like that. It's kind of like my pseudo social media platform because I don't use social media. Once again, I'm an old fart. I don't need social media. I didn't grow up with it. I don't really care for it, okay? I just have a couple of social media logons strictly for registering accounts in games. But other than that, I don't have anything, all right? So if you need to contact me for whatever reason, use the community tab on the YouTube. And worst comes to worst, for whatever reason I'm not responding, or God forbid my YouTube channel goes down, then contact me via email, okay? I will always be there because that's my website. I own that domain. They can't kick me off of there. No one can, other than my web host. Outside of that, Eiyuu Senki War Wonder, this is my second video on the game. I'm not going to be covering any more content on it because I do feel at the end of the day, this is still a side game for me. It's a very relaxing game, and I guess you can count this as my mini review. I had a blast playing Eiyuu Senki War Wonder in a different language. I absolutely understood nothing. I had to use dodgy translations off of like my phone and other websites that I saw, but I still had fun with the game because this is just a very relaxing game that for the most part you can play on your own time. I do consider it a side game, however, because once you use up your action points for grinding, there's really not much else to do, and I know that can be true for a lot of mobile games out there, but for this game in particular, it really is. It's like there's not really much else you can do other than upgrading some stats, and then that's it. Looking at your characters and then just kind of logging off, all right? So I invite you to play this game on a casual pace if you're new to this, and treat it as a game that you can play on the side and enjoy on your own time and on your own leisure. Now, of course, during events, you might want to be a little bit more active, but outside of that, just take it for what it is. And new characters will be released slowly, and just enjoy the environment. The voice acting is top-notch in this game. You can tell that the characters and actresses have a lot of energy in them. They're very thematically correct. You know what I mean? So you have like a solemn character, she's very solemn. You have a very energetic character, she's very goofy. Kind of like Hunifer is very goofy. And it's just a well put together production, okay? And that's why I like the game so much. It's just easygoing, very free-to-play friendly. It is free-to-play friendly, but if you want to spend, spend. And overall, something that I wholeheartedly recommend as a side game. Okay, you're not going to be balls against the walls going for the top 10 ladder position in this game or something like that, because it's not really competitive. It's not really meant to be. You're here for the story. You're here for the atmosphere. That's what this game really is about, at least in my opinion anyway. Okay, and that's why I like it so much, and I hope you like it too. And more importantly, I hope you like today's newbie guide to get you acclimated with the game. That is it. Don't forget to like that subscribe button. I added two things together. Like that subscribe button. How can you like a subscribe button? You can only subscribe or hit a like button. Or like thumbs up, right? Whatever. Okay? Just do that stuff YouTube likes. So that way I can be encouraged to do more stuff for other games in the future. Okay? I'm getting very tired. My throat's getting very coarse. BoxInTheCorner.net is the website. YouTube channel. Check the community tab. I do things there. And I talk words out of my mouth. I'm done. Love you all. I'll see you guys in the next video and game update. Take care of all of yourselves. Have a nice day.